He was a cameraman and an editor for the cable company that his father founded and traveled around the world before becoming a high school economics teacher and a small business owner. Now, Teddy Turner is ready to take on a new task, Washington. I talked to him about running for Congress and more for this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Teddy, I know that you have been actually campaigning for some time now.
Yes.
But beyond campaigning, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Just the campaign trail is difficult.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. And for those who don't already know, tell me, why are you running for Tim Scott's vacant House seat?
Well, being an economics teacher,
yes,
and teaching students about what's going on in the economy, I just got more and more concerned. But I also got more concerned when this race came up and we were thinking about sending the same politicians back to do the same thing and expecting something different.
Yes, and let's go back to late 2012,
right,
when South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley actually appointed Tim Scott to Jim DeMint's U.S. House seat,
right,
actually Senate seat, that is.
Right.
Tell me, what was going through your mind?
Well, it was interesting because I had several politicians call me because they kind of know about things before the rest of us do.
Yes.
Looking for support, and that started me really looking at the race and seeing what was going on, and then, shortly thereafter I decided to run myself.
Yes, and we all know about your stance on politics, but let's talk about you. From what I read, and you just mentioned this earlier,
right,
you're a high school economics teacher at the Charleston Collegiate School on Johns Island.
Yes, sir.
You have been in the classroom before as a student. How is it now as a teacher?
It's interesting because times have changed in the economic world, the educational world, because we have more capability, more ways of teaching, more ways of learning, and so the classroom has changed somewhat from its appearance. It's gotten better because we can teach better.
Yes, yes, indeed. And you are also a resident of Mount Pleasant.
I am. I've been in Mount Pleasant, I guess, about 6 or 7 years. I moved back to Charleston in 2001. So, but having gone to college here and lived here various other times in my life, I've spent a lot of time here.
Yes, let's talk about family. I understand that you're a husband and a father.
Yes. And
you have been married to your wife for some time now.
I've been married to Blair we just had our 6-year anniversary, so about 6.5 years.
Wow.
So,
for those who don't know her, describe her.
Well, she is extremely outgoing. She was a school teacher. A drug rep, and now just a wonderful mom who's keeping all the pieces of this craziness together while I'm out.
Well, everyone knows that you're Ted Turner's son, but beyond what people already know and what they think about him, who is really Ted Turner?
Well, he is one of the world's greatest entrepreneurs. He's done exceptionally well, one of the world's largest landholders, but he's also one of the world's largest philanthropists, yes, and he's my dad.
Yes, indeed. And with all the changes that are going on at CNN right now, what do you think about it?
Well, the family's really not involved at all anymore, which is interesting because it was really the company that my father built, my grandfather started, and so it's odd not being involved in Turner anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing that, I see is that I'd really love to see CNN be a little more toward the middle.
Sure, sure. And during the Cold War, you actually were cameraman and editor for the company.
Yeah, I worked for CNN for several years. I worked in the Soviet Union for a couple years, fall of 85 through fall of 87, right during Gorbachev's era.
Right.
So it was a fascinating time to be there.
And you traveled around the world for the company. Put on your memory you have for me and tell me which particular story or assignment sticks out in your mind.
Well, I think the most interesting thing I got to do was travel to Afghanistan during the Russian-Afghan War, and spent a couple weeks there traveling and learning about the culture so completely different than I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And so I've had some great opportunities, but that was certainly one of the most interesting.
And I heard that you had a near-fatal car accident.
Yes.
Tell me, how much did that change your life?
Well, every time you have something, a brush or somebody or a friend or a relative who does pass away, it tends to focus you a little bit more. And from there, it wasn't near fatal until I was in the hospital. It got worse after I was there.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of socialized medicine, I can tell you.
Yeah, okay. And another place that actually changed your life was the Citadel, as you mentioned. You graduated there in 1985.
Yes, the Citadel is a pretty unique place.
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic institution. It wasn't my decision really to go there, but it was my decision to complete my studies there.
There you go.
And so my father thought it would be good for me, and it was. And it was a pretty challenging thing, but it's something I'm very proud of.
And who was Teddy Turner as a college student?
Well, I was probably not the student I could have been. I spent a lot of time sailing. We had a very active sailing team then. I was the captain of the sailing team my last 2 years of school, and I am not the student I would like my children to be.
Well, describe to me the following in one word. Sailing.
Sailing. Sailing it's such a unique sport because from 9 to 90 you can sail, and you can sail sunfish or a windsurfer or a mega yacht or a tall ship. Sailing is a pretty incredible sport, pastime, leisure. But one of the things that it's really taught me, and I spent a lot of time offshore, and when you're sailing offshore, you're responsible for yourself and your crew, and I've been out there many times when I wasn't sure I was going to make it back, and it's an interesting experience to be out there and battling Mother Nature.
One word to describe hunting.
Oh, one word? Did you say one word to describe sailing and I went off on a million
it's all
words?
good for you. It's all good for you.
Describe nature.
Okay. Fishing.
Water.
Community service.
Important.
Washington.
Messed up.
Teddy Turner.
Good candidate.
Yes. When you look into your crystal ball, besides seeing yourself in Washington, what else do you see?
I've tried throughout my life to help people that weren't as fortunate as me, and I don't think I deserve any credit, or it's not something it's not something that everybody shouldn't kind of be doing, or shouldn't be natural, and that's what I was taught growing up. My dad has been a prime example of that. We have to keep growing and giving, and the country's in a bit of a mess. It could get worse. I hope it doesn't. We need to work together to help each other.
With that, Teddy Turner, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Quintin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.